Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Just kidding, I'm recording this. Of course, I knew you were there. What's up, guys? This is Justin. This is part 3 to my warrior guide for 5.4 in PvP. Already covered my gear, how I gym, priority of my reforge, and my spec talents and glyphs. So now I'm going to kind of cover each individual ability and how it plays a major part in PvP as far as an arms warrior goes. Now, I have a lot of weird keybinds. I'll maybe give you a couple, I'll tell you a couple of them as I go, but it's just all stuff that I've just kind of adapted to and also have been inspired to use off other fellow warriors that I've, seen played. So, this is just my run through of each ability. I'm just going to go down my toolbars. What I'm using an add-on called Bartender that is quite popular, and it actually, you can customize your bars however you want them. You can keybind several bars, even more bars than the Blizzard UI initially even lets you use. But I typically like to kind of make it look clean, have only the necessary abilities right here in front of me. I actually have it customized to where I don't see the macro text or the keybinds on my bars, simply because I just want to see the blocks, their cooldowns, and I pretty much have all my keybinds memorized. So there's no sense in me personally seeing what each thing is bound to. So pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through the abilities as they go from left to right down my ability bars and kind of show you how they're used and how I personally use them in PvP. So first off, we're going to start with Heroic Leap, which is definitely a big thing in PvP. And just anything as far as a warrior goes. Even if you like going up to the tip top of the world that you could possibly fly up to and just dropping off your mount and catching yourself from death with Heroic Leap at the last minute. I mean, it's just a really fun warrior ability. Like I said, I have my glyph set up to where I'm glyphed to where it'll actually reduce the cooldown of it, so I'm able to increase the amount of heroic leaps I'm actually able to do in a battle throughout a long period of time. And it's really useful for not only engaging in combat when you don't have a charge active, but as well as escaping combat, as far as, like, say there's, I don't know, like a frozen orb coming at you, or another warrior blade storming on you. Several things could factor into where you need to get out, like, now. Heroic Leap is definitely that ability for you. So that's its way for escaping combat. Engaging in combat, it's definitely good because it closes that gap, and also when you land, does an additional damage to it. It does 20,000 physical damage to the target and any target in the area of your landing point. So it's really good, just kind of not super powerful, but it's a pretty solid, AoE as well as, an engagement ability. So pretty much when you use it, brings up the little, rune circle on the ground to choose your location where you want to go with this heroic leap. So you can go like behind you, you can go like anywhere, as long as it's in like a certain range. So I'm just going to be practicing on this target dummy right over here. So I'm going to activate my heroic leap. Let me see if I can get to the... Alright, there we go. So that's where it's right in range, and just boom, slam right into their face. And it does did about 17,000 damage, roughly. So it does a decent amount of damage, but it's mainly used for its mobility for us warriors. Being all melee, it's important to close those gaps between casters that are, way out of our range of just slicing and dicing. Next ability is Intervene. Intervene is an ability simply used to get close to your allies and take the next hit that they're about to take. It's pretty much for defense, as well as, in this patch, breaking yourself out of movement and pairing effects. That's been the new meta that was added into Intervene this patch. It used to only be for Safeguard, but now Intervene, as its base ability, has the ability to get you out of movement impairing effects. A lot of people use this ability in conjunction with the banners in order to intervene to your banner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the banners, how they work. Pretty much right here in between those is just my stance macros, to where I go into battle stance and I go into defensive stance. And in battle stance, I also activate my battle shout, and in defensive stance, I activate my commanding shout. So I get health with defense and attack power with my attack stance. So yeah, that's what Intervene does. Those are my two stance macros right there. Just switch in between battle and defense. Really, nobody uses Berserker stance anymore. It doesn't really have that much valid of a use. Not as beneficial as battle or defensive. Mainly in PvP, actually, though, you'll be in defensive stance. That's pretty much the safest bet to go, is in defensive stance. If you want to generate a little additional rage with your attacks, or if you feel like you're not going to be focused on, definitely try to sit in battle for a little bit. But if you notice, even like the second someone tries to swap on you, you got to go defensive stance. Because with how powerful warriors are, they're also a huge target to be taken out of the game as quickly as possible. So definitely got to utilize how you're going to be switching between your stances, which I'll be able to show you in my next video on when I break down all of my macros and how I set them up. So moving on to the banners, like I was trying to say before I went on to my tangent about the stances. Pretty much, these are also macros set up to where it's going to activate my banner ability, where whenever you activate any banner other than the Skull banner, which will just be posted right on yourself, the Demoralizing and the Mocking banners will activate the little rune circle, just like Heroic Strike did, and you'll be able to choose an area where you want that banner to go. So I'm going to choose my banner to get thrown right there, and when I click the same button again, the macro button, I'll actually intervene to that banner without having to target it, without having to go and hit another ability. It's just I have that particular banner bound to C, so it's pretty much C, select spot, C, and I intervene straight to that banner. Occasionally in Battlegrounds, it's been acting really buggy recently, so it's not always 100% effective, but it's still a very it's one of the most important macro setups that you'll have as a warrior to take full advantage of your banners and intervening to them, using them as a resource to get out of movement impairing effects when you have nobody else around you to intervene to. Then I have my second banner, my Mocking banner, which, once again, you'll be able to choose where you want to go, click it, and then hit the same button again, intervene to it. Which I'll be giving you the total layout of each of those macros in the next video. I just want to make sure that I'm focusing on one specific subject at a time, to kind of, for the people who only want to learn about one certain thing, say they know everything about one thing, they want to learn something new about something else, it'll be all compartmentalized into these different videos. Alright, then moving to my core abilities. This actually gets into my rotation, is these abilities right here. Mortal Strike, Colossus Smash, Heroic Strike, Overpower, Slam, and Execute, as well as my charge right there. These I talked a lot about in my last video as far as the main abilities that Arms Warriors get, as far as Mortal Strike, Slam, Overpower, and how they are useful in conjunction with each other. So I'm kind of going to give you an example on this training dummy. So I'm going to charge, Mortal Strike, I'm going to do Colossus Smash, going to do 2 overpowers, and then already my Mortal Strike is back up. So I'll be able to Mortal Strike again, overpower, it's still on cooldown, slam. Throw an additional slam into it because I have the rage to do it. Why not? And then if you get to a point where, say right now I'm in battle stance, and you get an excessive amount of rage to where it's like you have way more than you can do anything with. What's really good to use, which I actually didn't even really fully realize until recently, was Heroic Strike is actually on a different global cooldown than the rest of your abilities. So say you're at max rage right here, like this. You can then use one of your abilities, or you can just use Heroic Strike, Slam. Heroic Strike, Slam. And you're right then and there, you just did not only all that damage from Slam, but in between the global cooldowns for Slam, you were doing an additional 110% weapon damage against that opponent within the, within the little variations of your global cooldown for your main abilities. So it's all about rage management, making sure that you're, if you say, you're just in a regular battle, definitely keep up the rotation of Mortal Strike, Overpower, Slam if necessary, but you mainly want to try saving that rage up for when you're going to do like some big bursting. So just Mortal Strike, Overpower, use Colossus Smash when it's available, keep that debuff up as often as you can. And just keep on going at it, The Colossus Smash proc, so I was able to use it again, keep that debuff up, and now I'm to a point where I have a lot of rage again, so then I can go ahead and Heroic Strike, Slam, Heroic Strike, Slam. Well, not Slam, then I ran out of rage, but you get the idea. It's all about knowing what to use and when to use it, and when it's appropriate to use one thing and when it's not to use another. And then, of course, Execute. Pretty straightforward, under 20%, does a massive amount of physical damage to the target, and that's pretty much what will replace your Slam when you get the opponent to 20% health or below, so you can get that quick finisher. Charge, you obviously saw, just gap closer, stuns him for 1.5 seconds, and generates rage. Awesome. Next ability is my Storm Bolt. I'll kind of show you my example of Storm Bolt right now, how long the range it is. So, say I'm like, chilling with this dude over here, like, oh, you really pissed me off, I want to kill you because you killed my father or something. I don't know, something vengeful. And then there's a healer over here, healing this dude up. I'm in the middle of a fight, and I want to get this guy out of the fight for a few seconds. Boom, chuck a Storm Bolt all the way over there, and I'm still going against this guy. So, it's definitely a really valuable CC to have, especially because every other CC that the warrior has, it seems, has been melee range. Intimidating Shout, melee range. Shockwave, melee range, but at the same time still has kind of a bit of range. Storm Bolt, 30 yards, pretty much snipe. Just throw that thing over into Kansas and hit whoever you want to keep under control. And it's 30-second cooldown, so it's pretty legit. I like it a lot. It's my personal preference. Then next up is Intimidating Shout, which is pretty much a solid fear instant for that target and anyone in the immediate area of it. It's anyone within 8 yards of the target, cower in fear, and it lasts for 8 seconds. Now, like I said, I have the glyph where all of them stay in place. You won't be able to tell right here because they're target dummies. They ain't moving anywhere. But there you go. Intimidating Shout, they're feared, under control for 7 seconds. So that's one of our primary CCs that we as warriors have. But just remember, it's a melee range CC, so you gotta be close up to that target in order to effectively CC him. So I actually have it macroed to where my Intimidating Shout is also combined with a charge. So I'm able to charge and Intimidating Shout at the same time to kind of close that gap and get that CC on. Then I have Pummel, which is just another warrior ability that melee range, 15-second cooldown, interrupts a target's spell casting and prevents any spell of that kind that was interrupted from being cast for the next 4 seconds. So it's kind of like a mini silence of that particular spell. Then moving on to the next, disarm. Disarms the target, you know, pretty much, oh, you have a nice weapon? Nope. Knocks it out of the hand for 8 seconds, unable to do any damage if they rely based solely on weapons, or just reduces their damage in general significantly. Next is Spell Reflect. Awesome, awesome ability for warriors, especially this patch, because they changed it to where now you don't have to have a shield in order to do Spell Reflect, as well as Shield Wall, but, you know, we'll get to that, you know, down the line. It's a few more. But Shield Wall and Spell Reflect no longer require you to have a shield out, so you don't have to do those crazy macros where you have to bring out a one-hander and a shield in order to use Spell Reflect. Now you can just have your two-hander and just you can just boom, right off the bat, Spell Reflect, and it just spawns a little shield there for you while you're still going ham with your two-hander. And that will reflect any spell next cast on you while the duration of that is up. My next ability is Disrupting Shout, which is the AoE version talent tree. It's the AoE version of Pummel that I got on my talent tree that you guys saw in the last video if you watched this. But that's AoE, Interrupt, and silence of that spell cast for 4 seconds. Next is Shattering Throw. Shattering Throw is our way of saying to paladins, oh, you have a bubble? That's nice. Not anymore. Pops almost any and all invulnerabilities that a target has, mainly specifically used for when a pally, pops his invulnerability bubble. I'm not too familiar with pallies. I don't really know exactly what it's called, but you know, that big shiny bubble that you can't get through, we break through that with that. But also, if they don't have a bubble up, you know, they don't have an invulnerability, it also just reduces the armor of the target by an additional 20%. So say you're in a fight with someone that, you know, doesn't have an invulnerability, and you don't foresee using Shattering Throw on anyone with an invulnerability for the next 5 minutes, which is kind of a ridiculous cooldown for a Shattering Throw blizzard. Just saying. You know, if you're not fighting anyone with an invulnerability, it reduces that their armor by 20%, which is awesome. But rarely used simply for that use, mainly just used to get rid of the invulnerabilities. Next ability is another talent tree one, Mass Spell Reflect. It's pretty much Spell Reflect, but for everyone in your party in the immediate area. Acts the same for you as it acts the same for everyone in your immediate area as it would for you, reflecting the next spell cast at them. My next three are going to be my main defensive ones. First one is Die by the Sword, which is increases my parry chance by 100% and reduces damage taken by 20% for the next 8 seconds, which is definitely one of the best defensive abilities we have as warriors, especially against melee combatants. So, like having another warrior, rogue, death knight, for example, all up in your face, pop Die by the Sword if you're getting low, and you're parrying. As long as you are facing forward, facing your opponent, you're parrying everything that they can throw at you. But that's important to always be facing your opponent while Die by the Sword is up, because if they get behind you, that parry chance isn't worth anything. So make sure you're always facing your opponent while that's up, get the full effectiveness of it, but at the same time, all damage is reduced by 20%. It's awesome. Shield Wall, like I said, no longer requires a shield out in order to use. You just use it, and boom. Shield is spawned for you, and I have mine set to where I also go in defensive stance, so it adds an additional, you know, defensive buff to it. Shield Wall reduces all damage taken by 40% for 12 seconds. Pretty solid defensive. Didn't really show you guys Die by the Sword, but yeah, here's Die by the Sword. Shing, shing, shing. Bunch of dancing blades that I don't even have my hands on. It's just magic Warcraft, bull, whatever. And then my last defensive one is Rally, which is actually going to be my Rallying Cry macro, Which, let me go ahead and find that ability. There we go. It's a macro, so you can't really see the exact specifications of it. But here it is in my spellbook. Temporarily grants you and all party members within 30 yards 20% of your maximum health for 10 seconds. Granted, after its effect expires, all that health goes away. But I haven't macroed with my commanding shout, so not only is it doing that 20% maximum damage or maximum health increase, the commanding shout increases your health. So then, increases your health, the 20% increases by even more simply because your health went up. You get what I mean. And then also with that macro, I also have health stones being used, as well as any potions that I have that are usable at the same time. So not only am I increasing my health, I'm also healing that gap to where it's almost as if I didn't lose anything. I'm gaining, because when Rallying Cry and Commanding Shout are activated, it increases your health, but you don't necessarily gain that health that you just added onto your health pool. But the health potion and health stones fill that gap, may even increase it even more. So yeah, and there's Rallying Cry. And you can see my health went up to, as opposed to where it was at with, my health is at typically 500,000. It just shot up to 594,000. So almost an additional 100k health just with that one ability. And if you combine that with one of your defensives, it's one of your other defensives, it's pretty rad. Especially going up against like 2 people, you can probably get out of that fight alive and take both of them out. Well, yeah, here's my other abilities. I feel like I didn't really show you, but pummel, can't really tell. Punch him in the face. Disarm, can't really tell because it's a target dummy. Spell Reflect, Disrupting Shout, Shattering Throw. It is a channeled ability, 1.5 second channel, so you gotta be, kind of out of the way. Make sure enemy can't do anything to CC you. Make sure you're timing it right, because if the enemy only has like 1.5 seconds left on their bubble, or just like 2 seconds, 2, 3, there's no point in even using it, because by the time you cast it, they could have already been out of it, and you could have saved it for the next invulnerability of any other target. So make sure you're using it smart, because it's a 5-minute cooldown. That's a long time to wait. So be smart with it. And of course, Spell Reflect, Mass Spell Reflect doesn't pop up a shield, but it still has the same effect. No doubt about that. Alright, moving on down to my main bar. I have my Intimidating Shout again, but that's just this Intimidating Shout up here that I have is macroed. This one's just flat out Intimidating Shout. No modifiers, no special anything. It's just Intimidating Shout. Right in melee. My next ability is my Blade Storm, which I actually have macroed to combine with my on-use PvP trinket. So I'm doing additional damage as well as doing my Blade Storm. So what's great about Blade Storm, keep in mind, is it also breaks you out of movement and parrying effects, and also if you're disarmed, it gives you back your weapon. So I typically use it like right after I get disarmed and I've been holding out on it. If it seems like an appropriate time to use it and I've just got disarmed, instead of waiting those seconds out to get my weapon back, I'll just continue doing damage and just get it back and start going ham on the enemy. So for 6 seconds, boom, just going ham, uninterruptible, not able to be disarmed, just constant damage, constant burst damage. Berserker Rage can be used one of 2 ways. It could be used as an additional burst effect, because it for the next 6 seconds that it's used, that it's active, it gives you an additional 10% damage to all your abilities that you use. But at the same time, and it generates 10 rage. I almost forgot about that. So 10 rage and 10% damage bonus for 6 seconds. But on the flip side, it also removes and grants immunity to any fear, sap, or incapacitating effects on your guy. So it's also useful for getting out of fears, getting out of sap, anything like that. When, you know, say you're getting locked down by a rogue, or you know, you got constant fear chains from a warlock, that's a good thing to save for those specific times. But say you're going ham, there's a kill window, definitely want to use Berserker Rage, get that 10% extra damage and that extra rage to throw in some extra big hits on that target and maybe score a good kill. My next ability is my Everyman for Himself, which for human, that's my racial. That's pretty much AKA the PvP trinket. Gets you out of any loss of control effect, stuns, fears, roots, snares, anything, but mainly gotta save it for the big stuns, because that's what matters the most. You have your Intervene to get you out of movement and parrying effects. You have your Berserker Rage to get you out of fear and saps. Definitely want to save your Everyman for the big stuns that you do not want to be stuck in. Save it for the opportune moment that you do not want, and you do not want to waste it on something silly like a charge stun. So definitely be smart about that. 2-minute cooldown. So that's 2 minutes that you gotta wait for the next time you are able to get out of a really sticky situation if you're getting stun locked. Next ability is Victory Rush. With Victory Rush, anytime you kill an opponent that grants you experience or honor, it procs to where the next target that you hit, you can use the ability and gain back 20% of your health. I don't think it's quite 20% in PvP. I haven't really paid too close attention to it. I think it's something more around the lines of like 10 to 15. But I could be wrong. I mean, I've never really paid specific mathematical attention to the benefits of Victory Rush, but it works, so that's the most important part. Next ability is Sweeping Strikes, one of the other abilities that's unique just for the Arms Warrior. All attacks that you make while this duration is up, 50% of that damage goes to a nearby opponent. And it's really great to have. It has no cooldown, but it does cost 30 rage, but it lasts for 10 seconds, so it's oh, well, I lied. It does have a cooldown, but it lasts as long as its cooldown is. So as long as you have 30 rage, you're going to be able to constantly keep Sweeping Strikes up if you're wanting to do massive AoE damage. Next ability, Thunderclap. Thunderclap pretty much applies the bleeds that you get from your Mortal Strike onto any target in the area. They buffed it this patch as well. It does a lot more damage. So it blasts for almost 28k damage and applies weakened blows to them, and ends up giving a solid boost. Let me go ahead and generate some rage. And boom. Thunderclap. And I have the one where it displays lightning. So then, not only do they have deep wounds activated, but I also have weakened blows to where all their damage that they're going to be dealing out to you is 10% less. So not only are you dealing damage, applying a bleed, but you're also debuffing them and decreasing the amount of damage they're then in turn applying to you, which is definitely, any little bit helps, especially in PvP, which is a game of milliseconds, it seems. Well, that's mainly arenas, but regardless, it's all about even the littlest bit can save your butt in PvP. So definitely use that wisely. It also is really good for big AoE attacks when you don't have Blade Storm up. In RBGs, you always want to be using Thunderclap on cooldown pretty much whenever you have the rage. Doing as much damage as you can, spreading bleeds, and debuffing all the targets around you. This one's Heroic Throw. Can't really see it right now, but let me see if I can pull it up real quick. There it is. Throw your weapon, causing 50% weapon damage. Weak, but it's a ranged attack, and you know, sometimes it can make a difference. Sometimes it gives a little bit less. It knocks them down a little bit more in health, maybe just enough for someone else to maybe pick them off that's in closer range if they run that far away to where you can't resort to anything else but a heroic strike, heroic throw. But I also have it macroed with, you know, the regular throw where you're just throwing the little star things, and also the land shark as well, which is the little toy you get from Blingtron to do an additional bit of damage in regular BGs, which is kind of fun. Just a little bit of range fun, nothing too crazy. And then pretty much last but not least, these are just my stances right here. Last but not least is my big ol' infamous one-shot macro. And the one-shot macro pretty much combines several of the major DPS cooldowns that a warrior has, which would be Recklessness, Skull Banner, my on-use trinket, and any of the other abilities that you choose in the talents, as far as like Avatar, Bloodbath, Blade Storm, Shockwave. It's all about it. You know what? Now you'll see that in the next video, exactly how it's laid out. But literally, how I have it laid out is, no matter how I spec my character in that macro, it has literally every ability that I could possibly be using in that macro in it, ready for whenever I respec and decide to use that ability. So I never have to rewrite it. Everything's all in that macro, to where I'm just doing ridiculous amount of burst damage, and it's just all in one button. All of it is off the global cooldown, so it automatically activates all at once. And as you can see right here, I'll activate it, and just going ham. Banner's down, Recklessness is up, doing 100. Oh my goodness, that was 130k a few times in a row, and then amped up to 150k hits with Blade Storm. And that's without Avatar or Bloodbath. Can you just imagine how much that would be if I had Avatar with that, which will actually share a cooldown with Recklessness and the Skull Banner? So I gotta say, that does a lot of damage, and I emphasize the a lot, especially if you use an Avatar, which will do 20% extra to each one of those hits. So like I said in my last video, though, it's all about how your playstyle is, how you like to do it. I like having Stormbolt just for that extra CC, whether I'm in an RBG or in an arena. Being able to throw out that extra CC to benefit the team. In the end, it's all about teamwork, and having an extra CC is always helpful. It's not always about doing complete ham damage. So yeah, that pretty much covers it as far as major warrior abilities, at least the ones that I use, the ones that I focus on. There's a few others, but I just don't feel like they're quite necessary as far as the warrior PvP rotation goes. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this. If you have any more questions, if you want me to elaborate any more on any other aspect of the abilities, just let me know. Comments below. Tell me I'm an idiot. Whatever. It's whatever. It helps. So next video, though, I'm gonna be covering exactly what I was kind of more in depth of the things I was saying in this one, of how I have macros set up for several of these abilities, and I'll be able to show you exactly how each of those work and how they really optimize your warrior to not only increase your damage, but increase how fluid your rotation will go, and just how much time and global cooldowns you're going to be saving with using some of these macros. So like I said, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Like the video. Just let us know how you think, and hope to see you guys in the next video. Maybe we'll have another link here somewhere. I don't know. I'm not the editor, so I don't know exactly how we're going to set it up. So yeah, click a link wherever it's at. I don't know. Maybe it's on my face. I don't know. But I'll catch you guys in the next video. Hope you enjoyed this one. Like I said, for like 3 times. I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.